In training, it is okay to fail. And in life, it becomes a biological requirement. We have to fail. When we do fail, we need to learn from the past, prepare for the future, and perform in the present. We do not want failure to become a recurring theme. And when we do fail, we need to have this ability, the ability to fail quickly. Don't spend this much time failing, spend that much time failing. Get over it. Today is going to be a good day, whether I fail again or not. Rock and roll.
Well, we thought that was quite a cool video. Welcome to today's episode of Toxic Masculinity. Jason, you really wanted us to start out the show with someone else's YouTube video. So I got to throw it over to you. Why were you so hyped up on this it's okay to fail video?
So first I wanted us to open up with a community service like that. But how much more manly can you get with that video? I mean, it's you have guns, you have talking about failing in life and getting through it, you know. So yeah, I just think it's great. But I wanted to know your guys' opinion on failure. Like, what do you think about failure? And I know my opinion is I like failure is something that is human. It has to be done. We have to accept it. We have to learn from our failures, move on, and not do the same mistake again, you know. But I want to know your guys' point on failure.
Yeah, no, I look, a lot of my life has been spent in the creative realm, writing, drawing, any kind of creative endeavor, filmmaking. And when I was probably something like 13 years old, I didn't really like failure. I didn't really like the idea of being imperfect even. So everything I did, I had to have at least some concept of exactly what I was doing before I jumped into it. I had a buddy who's now a bit of a lunatic, so I don't associate with him anymore. But he actually taught me a very valuable lesson. And that valuable lesson was, even if you're not 100% sure, jumping into, even if you're not 100% sure jumping into a project or some kind of creative endeavor or some kind of enterprise or learning about something or whatever it might be, don't let your lack of preparation prevent you from exploring that subject or that realm or that whatever it is you're trying to do. Because what happened was I was 13 years old. We had got our first video camera. This is back before phones had cameras, right? And so if you wanted a video camera, you had to get a separate thing. You know, like photography cameras still weren't digital at this point, right? So we had these. We got this video camera. I was 13 years old. This is 1993, and a buddy of mine and I were talking about how we could make a movie. This is the first time I ever thought, like, let's make a movie, right? First time I ever kind of like jumped into the pool of cinema in any way whatsoever. But I didn't know how to write a script. I didn't know what the script format was. Now, we knew what like a stage play format was, because like you're in school and you read stage plays and you do stage plays, you do acting in that way. But I didn't know what a film screenplay was. So I was very hesitant to even start writing a screenplay, you know, even a short film, just for us to mess around. But my buddy, he just started writing in stage play format for us. He just started writing without knowing what the hell he was doing. And I just thought to myself, well, that's kind of ballsy. He doesn't care what the format is. He just goes for it. Doesn't matter. But it occurred to me, it doesn't really matter what I learned later what the format was, of course. But it doesn't really matter what the format is, just so long as you get the words on the page and you can read them out and it works. It's fine. It should be fine, right? You should be able to read a stage play and, you know, create a short film out of that, even if it's not the correct format. So that taught me a lot. It taught me to like not be so hesitant to jump into something. So what if it's not perfect? So what if it messes up? You learn something. You learn by doing. It's a good idea. I think maybe I allowed myself to be, because a lot of times teachers will tell you, like, especially in a brainstorming session, go ahead and throw in all the bad ideas as well as the good ideas, because, you want to just be able to throw everything out there, because who knows, maybe a bad idea is actually pretty good, stuff like that. I think I kind of allowed that to inform my life a little bit too much. I cared a little too little about failing. And so I've failed a lot in my life, a lot. I think that you should strive for excellence, and I always have striven for excellence. But yeah, there, you know, it's a fine balance. I think on the one hand, society says, you know, do your best, be awesome. All that matters is being number one and all that kind of stuff, which that's not, I don't think people think that kind of thing is this sort of toxic trait of society. Like, you know, you put too much emphasis on winning. It's not about winning or losing. It's how you play the game and all this kind of thing. But I think that's natural. I think when we see, you know, we watch the Olympics, we watch the Super Bowl, whatever it might be, nobody really cares about who came in second. People only really care about who comes in first. People really don't care about most of, you know, like people don't care about women's sports that much, and people get upset about that. But the reason is because the women just aren't as good as the men. You know, occasionally you have, you know, somebody like Serena Williams or some really amazing athlete that people go, okay, I really like her. But for the most part, people only care about the best of the best of the best of the best. And that's not really a toxic trait of society. That's just our natural instinct. We want to see the best athletes perform at their peak. And so that's just a natural consequence of our desire to see the best being the best. And that makes us want to be the best ourselves. And I think that's fine. And I think that's fair. And I think we should go ahead and embrace that impulse, whilst also recognizing that failure is not the end. Failure is actually part of the process. But you have to have both, and you have to find that balance and try not to fail too much. And like this guy said, keep your failures short. So I love that video. I thought it was great. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on failure.
Kurt?
Well, you really ran the gamut there. I was just like, as I was waiting with my response, I just kept thinking of all these things to elaborate on what you said.
Blankowitz, and why is he trying to get banned from the channel? Is Chris still? Who am I simping for? You? I don't know if I want to say nasty things about my fans, but come on, what is this simping bullshit? You must
be talking about Mike Johnson.
I've never been simping for anybody. I don't know what this a-hole is talking about.
That was for
here.
you, Jason.
Not cool, dude. Not cool, dude. Not appreciating that in the comments section.
Somebody found out how to get Chris
what's
to
up,
talk about
Edgar?
it without doing a super chat. So good.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of this simping business. What are you? I tell you the truth. If you want to accept it, okay, fine. If you don't want to accept it, fine. Exploring interesting ideas about the world is not simping, douchebag. All right, back off. All right.
Isn't simping like? Well, I don't know. Let's move on. Kurt.
Simping is like if there's somebody that you admire and you just like
a woman, though.
You can't say a bad thing about them. You can't criticize them. You know, big simping. The Eerie Fairy says he's big simping, he's big pimping, not big simping. I like that. Yeah, I know. I don't. What is that? What is that? Who's gonna accuse me of simping? What a dick. All right, sorry. Go on, guys. Kurt, what do we think about failure? What do we think about hold on, what's this guy's name?
Guys, you want a reaction? Just say Chris is simping.
Okay, talk about failure. Frank Blankowitz, Blazkowicz. Anyway, just gave us a perfect example of what failure looks like, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Chris is not interested in my opinions on failure because he's now in a war. He's I think against this guy because he got a little hot at the college. He's going to interrupt me to ask for my opinion and then carry on with whatever he was talking about again.
Yeah,
we good?
Yeah,
I got my window. Okay. So yeah, I think you shouldn't be afraid of failure. I think that fear of failure is holding a lot of people back from doing a lot of things and making a lot of personal progress. I mean, like even in the case of like dating, if you're afraid to approach a woman, well, then you're never going to get her. You know, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. They say in basketball or one of those sports with balls and black people. Like you, Jason. If you never approached your wife, well, you wouldn't have gone on a date. You certainly wouldn't be married. You're like, like if you talk yourself out of it. I mean, if you look like Jason, of course, you just think like go up to anybody and like I'm good, I got her. Like she doesn't even know it yet. She's already my wife. I'm just gonna stride right up there. There was no fear of failure for Jason because Jason looks like Jason. But for the average person,
with women, I never had fear.
Yeah. There you go. So for normal people, it's like it's something you have to get over because it's just one of the things that's going to hold you back from being successful in whatever you're trying to achieve in life. And like Chris mentioned, there's a practical aspect to it. It's like if you're like, well, I'm just gonna, if you're sort of blindly approaching things, then you're probably going to fail a lot more because you may be in a realm that you shouldn't even. The path that you're taking may just be like, you know, the wrong path entirely, but you know, it's a learning experience. So yeah, don't be afraid of failure, and if you learn from the failures of others, that's even better. So keep your eyes and ears open and strive to achieve, which
Oh, I love that
Yeah.
added extra. Learn from the failure of others.
Mm-hmm.
Can I
mean,
just
you kind
add
of
something else?
slip that in, but I think that's go on.
I wish when I was younger, I failed a lot more. Like I was so scared of failing, like at anything. But you know what? Now that I'm a little older, I always think I should have failed more. I should have just done it, not give a crap, and just fail. Because you're young, you can always regain whatever you lost. You know, there's nothing bad about failing, and I wish I would have failed more. So to the younger people in the audience, failing is not a bad thing. But like you said, don't fail big.
Yeah, it's an important distinction because sometimes the fear of failure is healthy. Because if you go hiking with Chris, he will try to kill you. Like I've taken Instagram pictures for Chris, and he's like out on he's like a monkey out on a branch. The tree is like over a crevasse, and he's just like, yeah, take the picture. I'm just gonna hang here because he's a psycho. Yeah. And then Chris would have
that failure would cost your life.
Chris would have you do things that'll probably get you killed, but he's just like, if I did that, I probably wouldn't die. But it's just like, you know, it's just like, okay, well, good for you, Chris. And so, yeah, sometimes fear of failing when it's something that the failure will end in, will result in you losing your life, then pragmatism rears its head.
You know what the funny thing is about that, actually? So we've done that a couple of times where I've just like, oh, that tree is cool because it jets out over this cliff, and if I climb out on the edge of then I'm hanging over this cliff, and like, what's really horrible.
Chris doesn't really look like Tom Cruise. He also likes to put his life in jeopardy for no damn reason, just like Tom Cruise.
Well, but you know what's awful about that is like some people who go rock climbing or whatever, you know, they do take these big risks, and they're on, you know, on these crazy, you know, ledges and things, and it looks really interesting. But sometimes you can just get a shot that makes it look like it's a real dangerous cliff hang or something like that. But there you actually just, if you fell, you would fall like 2 feet or something. And it's just the way that the angle of the photo is, it's like perfect for that shot. But in Hawaii, where we were taking those photos of me hanging on the tree, it really was over like, you know, 100-foot drop or something where if you fell, you would die.
It was very stupid,
but then the photo that Kurt was able to get, or the video he was able to get, does not show it at all. Like, you can't even tell that I'm over this, like, you know, death-defying, you know, I'm doing this death-defying thing.
I was so nervous for you that I couldn't be artistic.
No, it wasn't. It's not your fault. It was the angle of the photo. Like, there was just no good spot to get that photo to so that you could understand what the situation. It just looked like a tree, you know, on the trail or something. It didn't look like anything. So it was completely, I don't know how we got off on that tangent, but yeah.
I was busy mentally preparing for your death. I was like, oh, Chris is going to die today. I guess I got to
Dame Piglet jumped in.
Become comfortable with this reality of the situation.
There's no more Chris in a minute. Okay, well, just wait it down. Dame Piglet jumps in with $6. She says, here's for the simpin'. Well, thank you so much, Dame Piglet.
Simpin' ain't easy.
Bringing that back in. That's very generous of you. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the first story, shall we, Chase?
Yes. Thank you, Rick. Yes, as at least I can read the stories, huh? All right. So the governor of New York thinks black kids don't know what the word computer is.
Oh, hold on. Yeah, this is one of my favorite stories of the week. This was nuts. Let's listen to this.
Young black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word computer is. They don't know. They don't know these things. And I want the world open up to all of them, because when you have their diverse voices, innovating solutions through technology, then you're really addressing society's broader challenges.
What an idiot. This is one of the most shocking. I mean, here's the messed up thing. This really is what Democrats think of black people. I really believe this, because you hear them say stupid crap like this every once in a while. This is one of the worst. There was a video a while back. This is a couple years ago. I think it was during the I think it was just after Joe Biden was elected. He did the CNN town hall with Anderson Cooper, and he started talking about how they were trying to roll out, getting the vaccines to everyone. And he said something like, a lot of people in the black community, the black and Latino communities, especially in rural and inner city areas, they don't know how to get on the computer. He's like, you don't know how to get online in order to get in line to sign up for the vaccines or whatever it was. And it was like it was horrible, because he's basically saying black people don't know how to use the internet. It was like the dumbest gaffe I'd ever heard. I didn't think anyone else would make a gaffe like that ever again in history. And yet here we go. Well, why do we get these people making these gaffes? Because really, I think that white Democrats, the reason that they're so adamant that we've got to be like, equity is so important, is because they really do believe that there's no way black people can compete with white people in the market of ideas, in the marketplace of ideas. Sorry, in the capitalist economy. I think that they really look at black people as inferior, and they say, what the hell is she talking about? They don't know what the word computer is. What the hell is that?
When I saw that, I was like, that has to be her going off of script. That has to be her just sort of like riffing or something, because no one would write that for her. This is an interview, so she's just answering a question off the cuff, and so this is what she really thinks. It's like, you guys do realize that black people are like one step away from apes, right? It's like gorilla, chimpanzee, black people. Like, it's like they're all like, they don't. Computer? What is we're
computer?
A political channel, not a science channel, all right?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
They had that video with the black guy acting like a monkey with the
Christians
computer
as well. So don't even make that comparison. That's just going to add fuel to the fire for the darn science atheist types.
I couldn't
to
catch
do.
what you said there, Kurt.
We have nothing to do with any sort of simian, because we were created by God. So don't get us started on all that Darwinism nonsense. Going down
Kurt, obviously I'm being facetious, because black people are obviously not a step away from gorillas, but according to Hochul, yes, they are, in fact. Yeah, Jason was referencing this video. I wish I had that. I wanted to find that, but I didn't have time before the show. There's this video that this guy made, this black guy with, like, he's got like just a pair of shorts on, no shoes, no shirt, and he's like poking at this laptop, and he flips open the laptop and he like jumps away from it, like he's all scared and stuff like that. Like, he's doing this whole like, I'm a black person, I don't know what a computer is. I think originally that was made for Joe Biden's comments when he said black people can't use the internet, and now it's been redone for this Hochul thing. But yeah, this is really what black people like. Okay, this is really what Democrats think of black people. It's horrible, because look, are there some black people that are like
throws it on the computer? Sorry, go ahead.
Are there some black people that are like super low IQ and can't really get a job, can't really use a computer? Sure. But there are white people like that as well. There are even a few Asians, believe it or not, that are like super low IQ. It's true. I mean, there are dumb people. Okay, most of them happen to hold political office and are Democrats. Now I've gone too far. Not the Asians. No, I'm trying to make the joke that most of the super low IQ people out there have been elected to public office and they're Democrats. But look, there are some like low IQ people. Okay. But again, there are some very high IQ people in every group as well. And this idea of like, oh, these people just need our help because they're so dumb. This to me is like the fundamental concept of racism that I thought we had gotten past in like, say, the 1980s. And now we've reverted And I don't know. It's just shocking to me. It's like we've unpeeled the mask of the Democrat, and we've seen what they really believe. I don't know. What do you think, Jason?
They're the real racist. I mean, they're.
I can go to
Democrats are
Kurt
the
if
racist.
I caught you in a bad moment.
I think he was reading the chats.
Kurt, why don't we jump in
I'm
here?
actually looking for that video.
I see.
Well, I'll give you time to do that then, and I'll give my thoughts on this. So,
Thank you.
well, like I said, it's they have to figure out how to, like, they have Biden's interviews and everything, like it's all scripted out. They should just adopt that policy for all the Democrats at this point, because when they riff, when they sort of like are allowed to speak their minds, it's never good for them. It's like, okay, it's good for us on the other side, but I mean, yeah, the idea that Black people don't know what the word computer means, like not only don't know how to use a computer, like you say like, hey Black person, here's a computer, they'd be like, what? It's just like, how sheltered a life do you live? You obviously
Computer.
It's like, okay, so you are the what's she, the mayor of New York? It's mayor, right?
Yeah.
Governor.
Oh, governor.
She's governor?
Yeah.
Thank you. So she's the governor of New York. So
Black guy's the mayor. Ironically, the mayor's a black guy, Eric, whatever.
Well, she obviously has never spent any time with him, or he doesn't know what a computer is. So this is how she feels about Black people. So so either the mayor is really dumb, and she sort of like, you know, is nice to him and like, you know, gives him a coloring book whenever they're in meetings together, or she doesn't know any Black people.
Well, I think in her defense, I think she was trying to suggest that there is like a certain subset of the Black population that doesn't know what a computer is. But I honestly don't. I don't care how dumb you are. Everyone knows what a computer is. Everyone uses computers. Almost everybody has a smartphone, except unless you're like 90, you got a smartphone.
Some of the dumbest people you've ever seen in the world are on TikTok making videos right now. So clearly they know what computers are. It's just like,
do you remember there was a video? Do you remember there was a TikTok about this girl who put Gorilla Glue in her hair and had instead of hairspray, and she ended up having to go to like a Beverly Hills plastic surgeon to get it fixed, and it was genuinely like she was in like excruciating pain. It was like that was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life, and she obviously
Chris. So because she was a Black woman, you assumed that it was Gorilla Glue she was using. It could have been any kind of glue.
It was Gorilla Glue. It was Gorilla Glue. Yeah, I didn't think about that until you mentioned it. That's pretty funny. Curtis KD5AYY has jumped in once again. The man, the legend, Curtis. Thank you very much, sir. He writes, I'm back. Hey, guys, great to be here. And yes, Hochul and the rest of the Dems are racists who don't know that they're racist. Or maybe they do know. Yeah, that's the weird thing. I don't... Does she know that she is what do they call it? The soft racism of low expectations is what they call that. Yeah, genuinely believing that Black people don't know what the word computer means. To me, this is to me, this is worse than the Kristi Noem I shot my puppy thing. Like this should ruin Hochul's career completely. Oh, you have the thing? All right, let's play it.
That's great. I love this guy.
Oh, Kurt, you're watching it?
I'm watching it, yeah.
All right, hold on. I got to jump this in here.
Oh, if you're going to play it, then I shouldn't watch it.
Let's see. My question is, let's see in November how the Blacks vote. Like, how many times can this happen and they continue this insanity of voting for these people every election?
I'm not convinced they are. Well, we know the vote is rigged. We know Biden didn't win the last time. So I mean, if
that's why they're bringing
it doesn't really matter it doesn't matter who does the voting. It matters who does the counting. So what they have to do is, and what they're really good at in the Democrat Party, is creating this narrative of, oh, they like us over here. They're going to vote for us. These guys like us over here, with all their polling and all their nonsense, so that you have the suspension of disbelief that when the corpse of Biden being propped up at Weekend of Birdies 3 wins the next election, you go like, oh yeah, well, he's polling pretty good. Oh yeah, well, Black people don't like Trump, they like Biden, etc., etc. But it's nonsense. It's just they're front loading it. They're gaslighting everybody with this crap.
All right, let me
So when they steal the
video.
election, they can go like, oh,
Young
well,
black
we all
kids
saw it coming.
growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word a computer is. They don't know. They don't know these things. And I want the world open up to all of them, because
This guy's
when you
awesome.
have their diverse voices innovating solutions through technology, then you're really addressing society's broader challenges.
That's my favorite
Young
bit.
black kids
That's my
growing up in
favorite
the
bit.
Bronx who don't even.
When he jumps back, I absolutely love that.
But
I like the picking up and sniffing the
that's
corner.
pure
That was
genius.
good.
Like,
Yeah, this guy's
It's genius.
awesome.
like
Genius.
I just love it. I love it.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things.
Because
So
that's
smart.
that is what the Democrats think. That's how
Yeah.
they think they are. I truly believe that's what they think. That's how they think they are.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad, but like, that's the really weird thing. They claim that Republicans are racist, and I had this theory many years ago that there's this idea like, well, everybody's a little racist, right? This is a concept that I've heard many people say, and every time I hear a person say that, I think, well, you've just admitted you're racist, but I think that you're what is called projection, right? Psychological projection, where you have a problem, so you think that everybody else has the same problem you do, right? So like, let's say that for some reason when you were a kid, you got like a pea stuck up your nose, right? And it was like really traumatic, and now you hate peas. And then you see somebody else at dinner, and he's kind of pushing around his peas, trying not to eat them. And then you go, oh, that guy must have got a pea stuck up his nose when he was a little kid, like I did. Well, no, maybe he just doesn't like the taste of peas, right? Maybe he didn't have that traumatic incident that you did. But you assume, oh, I had that traumatic incident, and I see similar behavior between the two of us, so he must have it too, which logically kind of makes a little bit of sense. You're using your life experience, and you're kind of extrapolating from that. It makes sense, but it's not always right. And I think with Democrats, I think that what they believe a lot of times and why they're so adamant about helping Black people is because they genuinely believe that Black people are inferior. And so they think that they have to, that it's their duty as like a good person to help out the inferior race. Of course, they can't admit that these people are inferior because that would be mean, right? But at least they need to do something. And they think that Republicans also believe that Black people are inferior. And the reason we don't want to help them is not because we think that they're equal and they don't need our help, but rather because we're just cruel. And we want to keep our level of dominance in the world. No, you stupid idiots. Believe it or not, this might shock you, Democrats, but we actually think that Black people have the capacity to do amazing things, to be successful, to get good grades in school, to be whatever the hell it is that they want to be, whatever. The same as white kids, you know what I mean? Sure, within the spectrum of humanity, there are smart people, dumb people, athletic people, sedentary people, unhealthy people, healthy people, tall people, short people, whatever. Of course, you're going to have a range of different types, but Black people are not excluded from excellence. And that's something that Republicans truly believe. We look at everyone as individuals. Democrats don't do that. They look at the white people as a group. They look at the Black people as a group. And then you get slip-ups like this. I think this should destroy Hochul's career. I think it should destroy her career.
Yeah, I wish.
Oh, I mean,
should we move on to the next story, or you got any more ideas?
Yep. Next story. This one is very frustrating, and so Boy Scouts of America changes name, advertises itself as trans-friendly, authentic self group. So the Boy Scouts of America is changing its 114-year-old name, according to a statement from the tech sector CEO who runs the fabled organization, in what seems to be a bid to deny the reality that boys are different from girls. So,
yeah, this is wild. So I was a Boy Scout. I don't know if you guys know this. I was actually in the Boy Scouts. If you were in the Boy Scouts,
so that says it all.
Okay, if there was something funny attached to that comment, I'd appreciate it, but
it's
not
a choose
worth the
your
interruption.
adventure joke. You can draw your
Well,
conclusions.
You were in it before it turned with the message.
Well, here's the weird thing. So the Boy Scouts, the reason that people stopped doing Boy Scouts, apparently, there was a big scandal and it was actually about the time that I was in Boy Scouts, of like sexual molestation or whatever of boys from like scoutmasters or whatever. This was like there was like a scandal about this, I believe. And I never, nothing like that ever happened in my troop as far as I'm aware. But I had, in fact, the opposite problem. I wasn't, there was not enough sexual molestation in my troop. No, it was, I got Kurt on that one. I got Kurt on that.
You bastard.
I got Kurt on that. No. But I did kind of have the opposite problem in that, in the troop that I was in, it was just a terrible experience. It was like, there were guys who were running the troop, or the scoutmasters, who had sons in the troop. So what they would do is they would facilitate, they would organize everything specifically for their kids and their kids' friends. So it was basically like family camping trips. And then anybody else who joined that troop was just basically like being exploited for fundraising and stuff. So I was like washing cars and doing paper drives and stuff like that. And then they would take that money and they would spend it on trips that I wasn't allowed to go on. I was literally like not allowed. I went on one hike, I think, the whole time I was in the Boy Scouts. And then I did end up going to summer camp.
Chris,
I was able to go.
That's what happens when you don't put out the free dinners.
I know. No, I wasn't one of those kids. Yeah. Just like Hollywood, Boy Scouts and Hollywoods, it works the same way. Yeah. No, so I ended up going to summer camp and our Boy Scout summer camp, whatever. And I remember the orientation. They like had to set up our tents. Okay. Then they're like, okay, let's do orientation. All right, guys. Over here you can get your wood chip card. Over here is lunch. So when they ring the dinner bell, go to lunch. And you guys know what else to do. All right, I'll leave you to it. And I'm sitting there going, because this is the first year I've been, and I'm like, no, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what the hell's going on. What are you talking? You just like, that's it? That's orientation? So I go to one of the scoutmasters and he's helping another kid that I know build a fire. And I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing? He's like, I'm helping Adam get his fire building badge or something. He's like, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll join. He's like, no, this is just for him. So I was like, okay. So I ended up going to like the lake and I just walked around the lake because that was my first day at summer camp. I had no idea what I was doing. And I didn't really think they were neglecting me per se. I just thought I was lost. Like I was supposed to know what to do and I didn't. So I made it around the whole lake and I ended up at the wood chip card. The wood chip card thing is you demonstrate that you know how to use an axe and a hatchet and a pocket knife and a saw, and then you can you get your little card and it says you can do all that stuff. There was an older kid there, nice guy, and he gets me my card and everything, and then he starts asking me what I did that day, and I'm kind of explaining to him how I don't really know what I'm doing. And the look on this guy's face, like the sadness, because this guy was like clearly into Boy Scouts, and the sadness on his face was just like palpable, and he was basically like setting me straight. He's like, no, your scoutmasters are supposed to help you get these badges, tell you what to do. They're supposed to involve you in these different things. He was like mad about it. And at that point I thought, I'm being neglected. Okay, these people are neglecting me. Oh, fantastic. That's great. So my Boy Scout experience was basically from beginning to end absolutely terrible. I had like the worst scout leaders. I mean, okay, no sexual molestation, so that's good, I guess. But I don't know how that was such a big deal because I mean we're kind of old at the point you go into Boy Scouts. You're like 13. I mean, I just don't understand how 13-year-old boys will allow that to happen. I mean, I guess some guys are like very, very shy, very, very meek. Sorry, I'm just sort of thinking, just like my thoughts are just kind of going. But like, I don't understand how that could have happened. But anyway, that was obviously a big scandal in Boy Scouts. But yeah, in my experience, it was just very unorganized, very lame. There was not a lot of like important trips that I went on, like camping trips, overnight trips, anything cool. The hikes were okay. I mean, I'm from Oregon. I'm from like the place where you do outdoor stuff. And I thought Boy Scouts was absolutely a joke and terrible. The stuff that I did with my family was much better. Of course, you go fishing, you go camping, you go hiking, you do all that stuff with your family when you live in Oregon. So I didn't really need Boy Scouts, but it would have been nice, if it was cool. My brothers both went into Boy Scouts. They were both really enjoyed it. So when they were going to Boy Scouts, it was actually a lot better. But for me, it was terrible. So I always thought like, I don't know if it was just that, just this scandal that they had that ruined Boy Scouts. I think it was also they let Boy Scouts just become lame and horrible. Like a lot of the guys that were in Boy Scouts with me were nerds. And it's like in this day and age where everything's gone woke, I think there's actually a great opportunity for a Boy Scout revival to say, look, being a Boy Scout will turn you into a badass. Like enough of these kids playing video games and just becoming these like useless loser beta males. Let's teach you in Boy Scouts how to be tough, how to be awesome, how to have self-esteem. Boy Scouts could be, at least to some degree, a reaction to wokeness. And instead, what have they done? They've embraced wokeness. And I think they've literally just taken the dying corpse of Boy Scouts and just shot it right in the head.
Mercy killing.
I guess.
The left takes another one down.
Yeah.
I just think Dame Piglet says a good thing here. She says, Boy and Girl Scouts were Christian-based organizations. Got to get rid of that. Exactly. That's what it all comes down to. They were a Christian organization. They have the name boy in front of it. And now you have to get rid of everything with boy, man, anything that shows masculinity, because it's all about emasculating males now. So it's the same thing with the
gender at all.
Yeah, it's the same thing with the entertainment industry. Just you have to emasculate everybody, all the males. Taking Star Wars, it was a boy thing. Now it's a girl thing. And plus, it being Christian, forget it. It's that's on their top list. And you know what? They managed to do it. They did it. They took down another one, and it pisses me off. And our side should come up with something. Our side should come up with organizations that create our own.
Sure. Yeah.
There's so much opportunity there. Kurt, we should start one. I don't know.
Let's do it.
Our own organization for young men, the Toxic Masculinity Squadron, perhaps. But I was wondering about that too. It's like we know why it was targeted, because just like anything, like the comic book industry, movies, stuff like that. They're like, you have the activists that want to infect something and corrupt it and sort of like use it to their own ends. But I think part of the problem is, like Chris was saying, that even back in his day when he was a young lad, it might have been a little mismanaged, could have been organized a little bit better. And I think this is kind of a problem with organizations that get big. So like McDonald's used to be In-N-Out Burger back in the day. If you saw that movie with Michael Keaton,
right. You're talking about how many options they had on the menu.
Yeah. Well, it's just in the case of like being single-minded and focused and a grassroots sort of operation. Like when things get bigger and bigger and bigger, then they tend to sort of like the message gets watered down. You have money coming in, you have all these outside influences. So I think the solution to problems with these giant corporations like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, things like that, things that can be even the Disney company. The Disney company back when it was under Walt Disney, like 50 plus years ago, is not what it is today. Now it's just money people and people that are not creative people that are only interested in like political aspirations or just like trying to make money by recycling things from the past. So I think the answer to this is don't go big with stuff. Don't get your kid in the Boy Scouts necessarily. Just have a local, kind of like with government, keep it small. You have people you trust. Maybe there's a youth pastor or something. Maybe there's a dude that's like ex-military who doesn't have PTSD. Have these guys do like a wilderness expedition with the kids. And the fundraising that you do will go to support that dozen kids right there in your community.
You know what I was thinking, actually?
That's a great point. I really like that.
Keep it local, and then you don't have all of the outside influences coming in, perverting everything and making everything about what they want it to be. You keep it together.
Great point. Sorry, because I'm always telling my wife, like, it's about the immediate family first. You got to forget all those outside sources and all that. It's about your family, your immediate family, raising them and doing your part. It's not about other people bringing up your family or controlling that. I agree. Yeah, that's a great point, Kurt. Yep.
Even in the case of something like, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
I do think it was as I was reading this story and thinking about my experience in Boy Scouts and how terrible it was, partly because these guys were thinking of their immediate family over anyone else, which is totally appropriate to do in private. But if you're going to become the Scoutmaster, maybe don't be a selfish son of a bitch and ignore the entirety of your troop and just focusing on your son and his buddies.
Sure.
Probably not the best situation. Maybe just don't be a Scoutmaster if you're going to be an asshole. But I was thinking, like, what kind of an experience would it have been if it had been like Bear Grylls would have been my Scoutmaster?
Oh yeah,
right. You know, or you remember the crocodile hunter, Steve Irwin? Like, crikey, mate! Take a look at this little gecko that we got over here, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, how cool would that have been? Like, if you get some guy who's truly passionate about the outdoors, truly cares about teaching this stuff to kids and having a great time. I mean, Boy Scouts could be such an awesome thing. But that you gotta, I don't know. I think they have to figure out how to get great Scoutmasters and market it to kids in the right way. Curtis has jumped in here once again with another $100 donation. We should just call this the Curtis Show. We should call this the Curtis Masculinity from now on.
I love Curtis. He's a
everybody
man
loves
of my
Curtis.
heart. What
he's
says,
keeping us.
It's like on point.
And everything he says is on point. He says, the leftist communists are going to move us too far eventually. And when they do, masculinity is going to come back with a vengeance. And I actually think they've actually crossed that line. I think that our reaction may be a little bit slow, maybe a little bit more methodical, so people don't really realize exactly. But I do think masculinity is trying to make a comeback. You do have a little bit of a problem with these fake alpha males online that are kind of usurping the whole movement. But I think that people do see past that. I'm hoping, like, the bigger problem that I see is like old men who are a little bit too timid to stand up to the woke mob. Because, like, if you see this is like an old white guy who's running the Boy Scouts of America, and what he should be doing is he should be saying, no, look, Boy Scouts is not a woke BS organization. Okay, we're not going to start calling it the Scouts. We're not going to call it, we're not going to, like, take the boy out of it. He should be standing up saying, I have integrity. We have principles. This is a Christian organization. We're going to teach boys masculine traits and revamp it to be like, we're going to turn your son into somebody who has self-respect and who's a bit tough. And I think everyone would want to send their sons to Boy Scouts if he did that. Instead, he's like, we're going to take away the word boy and just make it scouting. And everybody's welcome now. You know who's going to join? Literally nobody. Do you think that the little trans boy, quote unquote, whose mom puts him in dresses, is going to be like, mommy, they took the boy out of Boy Scouts. Now I can join. No, he's not going to want to go into the woods. He's wearing dresses for a reason. Like, let's keep the boy in Boy Scouts.
Yeah, they're actually driving. I think this is a good thing because they're actually driving families to come closer together. Because now my goal as raising a family now is do everything myself. Homeschooling. I want to take my son out hunting and fishing and doing all that stuff. So they're actually, I think, awakening people's, like, to get them to raise their own families, to man up, to be the heads of the house again, and also with the moms too. I think this is a good thing because
yeah.
Well, it's Chris, you're a big advocate of, like, school choice, and it's like we're talking about. My point before was things getting too big. So you have public schools. So the public school system, it's far-reaching. So they have these standards they apply across everything. The government is so big when you can't get anyone that can make any meaningful changes because there's such a bureaucracy going on. I think that's what's happening in the Boy Scouts. Is the bureaucracy is going one way, and no one person in a position of power can positively influence that now. And you were talking about doing everything yourself. It's like, okay, great. So that's how we can make things like the idea of, like, homeschooling work better, because homeschooling is one thing. But if you have a community of people like a true neighborhood, like we had back in the day, like in the 50s or whatever, you know your neighbors. You as a dad know other dads. The wives know each other. Okay, well then you can actually just operate a school for all intents and purposes. You can like, it doesn't have to be you're raising your kids. The community, you like back in the day, it was always the community that raised the children. It wasn't everybody was isolated. I think it's a mistake to go down the path of isolation, because that's something that's becoming more prevalent in society, and it's something that I think benefits nihilism and the bureaucracy and things like that. Where if we're separate, we're weaker. So the idea of let's just raise all our own kids and stay home or whatever is just like, that's not good. But what we need to do is build a stronger, more tight-knit community on a small scale in your neighborhood. Know your neighbors, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's a good point. Yeah, I don't know if people should be pushed into isolation, like you said. I mean, people should have options. You know, not everybody can just take their kids camping and fishing all the time and hunting and all that kind of stuff. I mean, when I was growing up, my dad did take us camping quite a lot. Like, I mean, I kind of grew up in the woods, which was fantastic. We had the freedom to do that. But he also owned his own business, like a fledgling business that was on the brink of dying all the time. I mean, it eventually survived and thrived, and now he's got this great business. But, you know, he had to be working a lot for that business to do well and for us to have be able to be successful, and for all of us kids to have had a decent life. You know, he had to work a lot. And so, you know, being able to supplement what my father was doing, taking us fishing and camping and hiking and all this kind of great stuff, by putting us in an organization like Boy Scouts, that's very valuable, I think, especially if you can make friends. I think that like working in groups is actually incredibly valuable. Learning the skills of being able to work in groups is incredibly valuable. And obviously with my experience in Boy Scouts, that was sort of stripped from me.
Scarred you.
Right? What's that?
Scarred you.
No, I wouldn't say that the Boy Scout experience scarred me, but I would say that like I had a similar actually experience in like Little League sports, where you would get these coaches that would only care about putting their sons in the best position on the baseball field. Like if I wanted to be a pitcher and he wanted to be a pitcher, well, he'd get to pitch because my dad was off building our family business and this guy's dad was coaching, so he got to do the pitching. That kind of nepotistic, you know, a-hole attitude, I think messes up with some kids. And like I'm kind of resistant to groups now. Like I don't work well in groups now. And it wasn't just Boy Scouts. It was a lot of different things the way I grew up. It just, you know, that was just the luck of the draw. Some people just have bad luck in life. You know, I think I had bad luck in life when it comes to working in groups. So I tend to work alone. I think you're probably the same, Jason, right? Which is why you're like, I'm perfectly fine. I'm perfectly fine 100%. Isolating from society. But I don't think that's good. I think that we do need to learn to work. Like, think about it like this, man. What is filmmaking? Filmmaking is the ultimate collaborative effort, the ultimate collaborative art, right? You can never make a good film. Well, you could, but it's very difficult to make a good film by yourself, right? You need a whole group of people to collaborate with. Yeah, it's difficult because you're not going to be the best costume designer. You're not going to be the best set designer. You're not going to be the best location scout. You can't be the best at everything. So you got to rely on a lot of people who are better than you at these things. Collaborate together, make a great project. And that's what filmmaking is. And so I think that teaching kids to work in groups is absolutely critical and essential. And it's something that we're moving further and further away from in society. And we need organizations like Boy Scouts for that. Wow, we're spending a lot of time on this Boy Scout story. We should probably move on.
It's just
one more thing. I think churches need to come back. Like the way the churches are now, it's just these mega churches and stuff like that. I think it needs to be smaller churches in your neighborhood that can bring that back. Like have those groups and do guy things. And that's what I'm starting with my church that I go to. We started these men's groups, and now the guys are starting to get together. Like hopefully in the future there will be something for the kids. So I think we need to get back to that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Chris. Yeah, it's totally, you need. I agree. I'm terrible in groups. Like, look with us three, how bad I am with groups. But I agree with you.
Yeah, that's great.
Right, let's move on.
That's using that. No, we're not moving on. I have something to say. So So the idea that your local church is sort of a breeding ground for these other programs for the community is great. I think that's the one of the main purposes for having a good church in your community, is so that people can come together and bridge off onto these other things that have to do with, like, getting your kids together and getting people in the community to open up to each other. So I think that's great. That's fantastic, Jason. But yeah, I think I've struggled with this a lot myself. I think that men tend to favor isolation sometimes. They like sort of like being alone with their thoughts, and like certain men anyway. Certainly the three of us have that in common, where we just sort of be like, oh, I'm going to go read or write or do something, or like, and I think there's a temptation for that, to just have the simplicity and the quiet of like being self-sufficient and your own thoughts and stuff like that. But if we want to have society, we really have to find a balance there and go against that nature sometimes, because even for myself, like my future plans, a lot of them, like, okay, if I want to run a business, something like, how can I do most of it myself? I've been in middle management things. I've worked for other people where it's like, you get a bunch of yahoos. You get these people that are like children who don't want to work, and you're babysitting. So as someone who wants to achieve a goal, I don't want to babysit. I want to work. So if I can get rid of these people, but then the temptation is like, get rid of all of them. And then we'll just like, focus in on the goal, a smaller goal, and we'll do, I can do this myself, but you can't achieve as much. So that's sort of the balance you have to strike there. But yeah, definitely smaller, more of an emphasis on the local community, I think, is great. That's what society needs to move towards. We need to focus on our neighbors, what we can do. And I think that's globalization of the media and everything is just like distractions. Look over here, look over there.
I'm
like,
trying to play the Oscar like walk him off music.
The walk him off music.
But
well,
Kurt doesn't notice.
Yourself, Chris, because this is usually you in this position. Okay?
The cane.
The cane. Now we need a cane.
All right. I hate you both. I'm not joining your Boy Scout troop, Jason. I was going to volunteer because I have no wife and no children. I was going to try to do something good for society, but now you've ruined that. Now I'm jaded.
Well, we're always talking about how to like improve the show, and we did have a discussion the other day about like how Kurt and I both tend to go off a little bit too much.
Chris's idea is for me to talk less, apparently.
No, well, I think I should talk less too. But like we realized that my problem is that I do a lot too much setup when I'm trying to make a point. But when I get to the point, I'm done. Kurt, for some reason, has this thing where he doesn't know how to finish a thought. So he gets to his point, kind of makes the point, and then carries off.
You're the only one that can do stream of consciousness. I thought that it was good that we had the Boy Scouts as a jumping off point for all of these great ideas that we could all share.
But we only have 1,000 other stories to get to. So, but they're all good stories.
Who cares? I don't care about the other stories. I care about making my point. But we can move on.
Screw Kamala Harris.
You're so desperate. Exactly. Screw Kamala Harris. What did she say? Who cares?
I want to get to these stories. Let's try to jump into the next one.
All right. Boy Scout leader.
That's right.
Jason,
do we got this one? Yeah, do we lose Jason here? It looks like he's frozen. Okay, I'll start doing this, and we'll see how we see. Hoff Power Concrete and Simplified Crawfish Company jumps in and says, "Calm down, guys. I made it," which is fantastic to see. We always love to see you in the chat there, man. All right, so we've got here. She says, Kamala Harris says, "Here's what a second Trump term looks like." She writes, "More abortion bans, more suffering, less freedom." We are not going to let that happen. I'm not sure why Jason thought that this would be a good one to post, because they post stupid, insane things every single day. But what I thought was great about it was that if you scroll down a little bit, you get to some great comments. Buzz Patterson writes, "Here's what a second Biden-Harris term looks like." It says, "World War III, continuing border invasion, economic depression, Kamala as the president of the United States of America." I think that's probably true. Jason, I thought I would, we lost you there for a second. So I've been talking about this Kamala Harris tweet. And
good. I left at the perfect time.
I was telling everybody that there's these great comments in the comment section of this tweet. Laverne Spicer jumps in. She writes, "Bitch, shut up. This is how a child thinks. Don't nobody care about your damn abortions. And the other two things don't even make sense. P.S. Look them cheap ass, lose them cheap ass pantsuits you buy from Ross. They make you look more ridiculous than you already are. I love that. I love that. Mindy Robinson, who happens to be a friend of mine, she writes, we remember exactly how much better everything was under Trump. Thank you very effing much. Knee pads Harris. Mindy is I literally watched Mindy Robinson get a man in a chokehold, and the guy nearly passed out, and the police had to come and everything. It was pretty mental. Mindy's a little crazy. Her partner, her boyfriend, husband, whatever you want to call it, is Randy Couture.
Oh man.
So that's how she knows how to do that stuff. And she was also the hot chick on a reality competition show that I used to watch called King of the Nerds. So when we met, I was like, I know who you are. And we kind of ended up hanging out. Anyway, Gunther Eagleman writes, whoever runs Kamala Harris's account is a dumbass. I like that. Nice, succinct, and to the point. But anyway, Jason, why this tweet in particular? I was telling the audience, like, Kamala and Joe Biden post idiotic things just about everything. Did Kurt get upset with us and leave? Kurt's like, screw you guys. And then just took off. Oh no, he's back. He's back. We were making a joke that you were so upset with us you had to just leave.
No, the Guinnesses finally piled up, and I had to relieve myself.
Anyway, so Jason, why did you think
they're not paying us? No product placement.
Yeah, no product placement. So why this particular tweet, Jason? Why did you pick this one?
Explain yourself, Jason. Why are you wasting our time with this drivel?
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting because they're always because they can't go on their economic policies or anything like that. So they go on with this abortion and
it's fear mongering.
What was the more suffering? Like more abortion meant more suffering. Like we're suffering right now. So
yeah,
how ironic! Like we're suffering more now with Biden. So
right.
And then less freedom. It's projection. It's projection at its finest.
It's exactly what it is. It's projection. It's exactly what it is.
And then they write, we are not going to let this happen. It's happening. I mean, come on. How dumb do you think we are?
Yeah, that's what really stuck out to me was we are not going to let this happen. So what are we supposed to glean from that? What do we extrapolate from that? Like, you mean you're going to steal the election again? Is that what you're telling us? We're not going to let this happen. Well, it's up to the people to decide what happens. So what you should say is, we cannot let this happen.
Yeah,
so,
or don't let this happen again.
Or something
exactly.
Like sort of like a
you reminded me, Kurt. You reminded me, Kurt. That's exactly right.
That was not. Yeah. That's not.
You reminded me because I was going to mention that too. But I'm glad you mentioned it because you articulated it better. Yeah, it's like what is she saying? Are you going to steal the election again? They are, but it's right there in the writing.
Yeah. You remember when the FBI was spying on Trump? And they found those text messages between I forget the name of the two agents, but this guy and his the chick he was having an affair with, and she says, "Trump's not going to be president, right?" And he's like, "No, we'll stop it." Mm-hmm. This is what it sounds like again. Like she's telling everybody, "Don't."
If Trump had texted this, they would have said all this dog whistle stuff. Like, Trump saying we're not going to let this happen. That means he intends to not have an election or steal the election. They'd read all of this nonsense into the phrasing.
Yeah, they would, even though they say the same kind of crap. Yeah,
they say the exact same kind of crap.
I don't know if you read these, Chris, but there's one comment where it says, "Here's what a second Biden-Harris term looks like: World War III, continuing border invasion, economic depression, Kamala as POTUS." I mean, that's so perfect.
Yeah, no, it was great. Yeah. No, I read that as soon as you disappeared. You were gone when I was reading that one.
Damn.
All right, well, let's go on to the next story because we got a bunch of good ones here.
Yeah, this one's great. End wokeness post on X. Southern Illinois University had 5 separate segregation graduation ceremonies.
Good Lord.
Black, Hispanic, Asian, LGBTQ, and non-traditional. No special white ceremony, of course. This is typical. Like, this is what we were talking about earlier too. About the Democrats or the leftists and their racism. It's like so they're Like this especially gets to me.
Yeah.
They're segregating themselves. Like we're
Yeah.
and it's funny because I know those liberal leftists in power, those elite, they're like going like this. We're winning. We're separating everybody. We're doing segregation
and what's the term they always use to describe conservatives? Divisive. We're always divisive, right?
Right.
Like, yeah, we're the ones that trying to put everybody in a little box and say, don't talk to the people in that little box over there. That's what we're doing, right?
Yeah, you know what pisses me off? Like these students actually, these are college students. Like they're dumb because they're actually falling for this, and they actually did a Black, Hispanic, Asian, LGBTQ.
That's what the college is
graduation.
For,
they separated themselves. Like how idiotic can you be? Like, don't you see what they're doing?
Well, Jace, you know what the argument is. The argument is that straight white men are so toxic and so harmful and so awful that these other delicate demographic groups can't handle us. It's once again the soft racism of low expectations.
Yes.
We know you can't handle even seeing a straight white man, and therefore we're going to give you your own separate groups. You don't have to suffer in the presence of the evil white man. But in the defense of Hochul, I forgot to mention this. In the defense of Hochul, I think, Jason, you have a Black son. And in defense of Hochul, I don't think your son actually does.
I don't have a
Hold on. I don't think your son knows what a computer is. I don't think he knows.
well,
what
he doesn't know.
I don't think he even knows what the word computer is. So fair enough.
One half of him. He's only half ape.
Oh. But how old is your boy?
He's gonna be 2 and.
Okay, so the fact that he doesn't know what the oh, did we lose him again? Uh-oh. All right.
Look at that handsome man. Even frozen awkwardly, he's just like, yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen,
is not good for my ego.
This is, ladies and gentlemen, is what the word simping is. This is what the word simping means. Is what Kurt is doing right now. So
it's like Pee-wee's Playhouse. It's the word of the day. Simp. If I'm trying to be masculine, me referencing Pee-wee's Playhouse is probably not the best move, but that's okay. We'll move on. And Chris,
I know you are, but what am I?
Yeah, exactly. And
oh man, Pee-wee Herman's a good reference, though. I miss the '80s. We got to bring back more aspects of the '80s. Even
because you were born too late. You would have been a great yuppie. American Psycho, right here.
I should have been. Yeah.
Okay. Well, in 1960, you would have been killing it.
I can move on myself, I guess. Although I do kind of want to wait.
What's with you always moving on to the next topic before I even had?
I thought. My bad. I thought we were done with that. Hey, Jace, he's back.
You toxic white male. This is why we have to have seperate ceremonies, because Chris will let other people be heard.
Well, Jason disappeared, and I thought we'd move on to the next subject. I thought I didn't realize anybody had anything else to say. Okay, Kurt, what do you think about these separate ceremonies?
No, I'm good. We can move on. No, I'm kidding. So the separate ceremonies things, it's like, okay, so the kids are protesting everything, right? They're protesting like Palestine, like all this stuff. Like they're shutting down the school because no, we have to support the Palestinians, even though all the stuff we believe, they don't believe, and they'd stone us to death. But pro-Palestine, okay, good for you guys. They are obviously complacent, and they are complacent, but they're complicit in these sort of like ceremonies where we're having 6 graduations or whatever. Okay, protest this. Shut down the school over this. The fact that they're not doing that, maybe put them on a list, don't hire them. But I mean, I think it's sad that they will. I guess indoctrination works. I guess the college system produced the people that they were looking to produce because they all lined up like cows at the slaughterhouse willingly for their photo ops, for their 6 or 7 or whatever it was different graduations. And one of the comments I remember reading when I read this article was Martin Luther King would be so proud. I'm paraphrasing, but essentially like, yeah. So 60 years ago or more, about there, he's trying to like fight against this exact sort of thing. And the young people of today, the college graduates, the most educated, the most the leaders of tomorrow are embracing it. It's pathetic.
Yeah.
Hey, you know,
it's sad.
before I
It's
go
sad.
out again, I can see it now. There's these white female liberals on the top there. They're saying, "Oh, we don't have to graduate, or we don't have to have our ceremony with these dirty colored people now. We win." It's sick. It pisses me off.
Yeah, let's do it, guys. Let's keep segregating. I love it. Keep all the LGBTQ folks out of my ceremony.
They did say they didn't have a separate, like, white people's ceremony, but they must have, because they had separate ceremonies for everybody else.
No. It was the specific ceremony that you can choose to enter into if you consider yourself one of those group members. But if you want,
they had the.
So then there's the general for everyone.
Oh, so they had the one.
Yeah.
They had the one.
Don't
for
you know,
everyone,
Kurt?
and they had
Wake
the
up!
other
It's
ones.
Kurt. The regular graduations are for white people. You know, come on. It's been like
But
that.
they-
since the
that's
beginning of
what they
time.
always
But they
say.
weren't
You know, if you
but they
say,
weren't
"Oh, there's no,"
excluded, but they weren't excluded. Therefore,
No, exactly.
They were for everyone, literally for everyone.
exactly.
I
But
wish
they
a
wanted
white
their
person.
own special snowflake ones.
Yeah, I wish a white person
Sorry.
would have went. No, I want to go to the Hispanic graduation. I want to go to the
Right,
black
to the black
graduation.
one, yeah.
And if you stop me, that's
the food would have been
racism.
better, probably.
I actually think white people food is the best food.
Of
I
course,
agree.
you would.
I like the white people food. Yes,
That's why
I like
we have
traditional
this-
traditional
That's why you're eating
American
hamburgers and hot
food.
dogs
I
every
love
day
it.
out there in Bali, right, Chris?
Well, I do have hamburgers occasionally, but believe it or not, Kurt, we do have a broader variety of foods in white people land than just hamburgers. I know that you coloreds, you don't always understand this.
I'm not allowed admittance to white people land. I don't meet
That's
the screening
true.
process.
Well,
You
the other night I made meatloaf. That's American, right? Is that white people food?
That's very solidly American. Well, look,
I make a
but
good
like if you take in all the cuisine of Europe, there is such a broad, beautiful range of cuisine in Europe.
Haggis.
And-
Haggis.
Haggis. I've never had haggis. Actually, I've never had haggis.
Oh,
no other
but yeah,
country
from-
would make a dish with such an unappetizing name as meatloaf, and yet it's actually delicious.
It's actually delicious. Yeah. And you go down to Italy, you go to Greece, you go to France, you go to
Jason, can you make haggis?
I can, and I've had it, but let me tell you, I think that's probably one of the only foods I hate. Didn't like. It was putrid. It smelled like somebody just took a dump. It was bad. It was bad. And I've had some bad
as a
food.
Scotsman, I take offense to this, although I've never had haggis and I do suspect I would not like it.
Then you're not a Scotsman.
I will eventually.
Clearly.
I do eventually
Thank
want
you,
to try it.
Jason. Like, as a Scotsman, I'm not speaking from experience because I never had haggis. Like, you lost all your credibility right there.
Yeah, no, I never
I
had.
bet you haven't even played golf, have you?
I have played golf. Occasionally.
Have you worn a checkered skirt?
It's called a kilt, Kurt. Thank you very much.
No,
It's
no.
not a
I'm sure
skirt.
you've worn a kilt. I was wondering what the other thing. Don't put words in my
Yeah,
I'm sure he has, but like
No comment.
But since he's not a real Scotsman, he probably wore underwear under it. So
Well,
anyway,
if the wind blew, everyone else would be emasculated.
There is this weird joke that came around a little while ago, sort of like a stereotype of white people where we don't use spices at all, or we don't use any kind of seasoning at all.
Your food. Yeah.
We don't season our food. It's like the weirdest stereotype because it's just like obviously not true. Like there's
whites didn't use that until they stole it from the trades in the early 17th century.
Okay, that's just nonsense what you're saying.
Spices came from where?
Spices
came from where? Middle East, South
spices,
America, North
but you
America.
don't understand. Like the trade routes that allowed us to use spices have existed since antiquity. Like I would say even probably pre-Roman times, right? So you had, especially like I would say in medieval Europe, spices were considered a sign of wealth if you had exotic spices. So people actually overspiced their foods. Like if you look into the recipes of the olden
They were
days,
sometimes used like currency, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, exactly right. Yeah, that was how valuable they were. Your spice box was like worth an obscene amount of money if you were, you know, like a wealthy person, an aristocrat back in the medieval age. Yeah, these spices were just very expensive. Like something like sugar was obscenely expensive. You know, once they. But
the term spice box itself sounds obscene, but that's probably just my mind.
You know what's a great white food? Shepherd's pie. That's one of my favouts.
It's a good one. Any kind of meat pie or
anything
chicken
with beef.
pot pie is great. Yeah, yeah.
The only problem is you can get mad cow disease if you eat that white food.
These are terrible jokes.
I'm enjoying
this. This is the worst so far of the whole show. No. But look, when I was in Sweden, I tried various kinds of Swedish foods. A lot of it was great, but my favorite was this very simple dish that they served almost everywhere called toastskagen. I'd never heard of this, but it's basically just like mayonnaise and shrimp with some dill, and then they put this on just a piece of toast, buttered toast. And if you use quality ingredients and you put this together, you can look up the recipe if you're interested online. I'm sure you can find something at like the nicer restaurants that I'd go to,
or just go to your local IKEA. They probably have it there.
Well, I don't think they do have it at IKEA. That's the sad thing. IKEA should start making this for people because it was so good. I couldn't get enough of it. Everywhere I went, I wanted to get this toastskagen. People thought I was funny because they're like, "This is such a common, ordinary thing to get in Sweden. We don't even think of it as like good. It's just like something everybody has." But I thought it was amazing. This was like my favorite dish that I found in Sweden. It's just a simple little thing.
It's weird.
Yeah, I've had something similar
like
to
mayonnaise thing. Yeah, what's that?
I've had something similar to that, Chris. The other thing is, isn't the best food from France? Isn't that a white country?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't really like French cuisine as much as many people do. Although the French did develop a lot of the techniques that we now use in fine dining, right? But for me, my favorite French food is actually French baked goods. So anything. Anything like a croissant or a baguette or anything that you would get at a boulangerie. Or, you know, to me, that's like the best stuff. They're baked, their breads and all that kind of thing.
Sure.
If you guys get to go to France, my favorite dish is andouille. It's great.
Andouille.
It smells like pig ass, but it tastes amazing.
Okay.
Seriously.
You should do the advertisements for this. You should be like the Jimmy Dean of andouille. It's just like, it may smell like pig ass, but it tastes great.
The times I've been to France, it's like, I tell my wife, we have to hit the first restaurant. I have to get my andouille. So,
what is it exactly? It's a sausage.
It's a sausage, yeah. But I can't describe it.
Is it the same thing as like Louisiana andouille sausage?
Similar.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a big.
It has a very strong smell. But
yeah, you mentioned
it's different than haggis. Haggis smells like crap and it tastes like crap. Andouille,
real quick, what's your
tastes great?
The difference is probably the spices.
Yeah. Like think about sausage. What are they talking about? We don't spice our food. If you've never had a sausage, I can kind of maybe understand.
Yep.
I don't understand because like everything that we make has spices in it. No matter what region that you go to in Europe, we use spices or herbs or something.
They stole it all from the Indians.
Okay. All right. Anyway. Enough.
Well,
of
when
this joke.
when I think of sausage, I think German food.
Exactly, German food,
of German beer and German sausages and things, and there's no lack of spice.
Fantastic stuff.
I think the whole they don't season their food, don't spice their food. It's weird too because what they're talking about in terms of the regional cuisine I think it's trendy among some Black people that with social media accounts and stuff to say like, oh, they don't season their food, but the seasonings that they're using are basically the seasonings of the American South.
Exactly. Yeah, I was about to say that Kentucky Fried Chicken with their however many herbs and spices.
X amount
that's
of herbs
Colonel Sanders. Yeah, this is an old white man and it's like Black people's favorite place to go to get food, right? Unless I'm mistaken. It might be Popeyes at this point.
Interestingly enough, I really enjoyed this video. It's an old video at this point, but it was basically like in England, in Britain, they had British people trying Popeyes, and the British black people were going crazy for it. They were like, "This is well seasoned. This is well seasoned." They kept firing at home like it's well seasoned. So it's just like, well, I mean, okay.
Yeah. Shocking. I know. Shocking.
But maybe they lived in England so long they were used to things not being seasoned. But the most popular.
Well, but here's the really wild thing, right? Here's the really wild thing. White people tend to import the cuisine of other regions. Like everywhere I go in the world, I very rarely find that the locals will often eat at restaurants that have foreign food. They tend to eat their own cuisine almost exclusively. Yes, they will go to McDonald's. Yes, they will get the American junk food because American junk food is just essentially primed for everyone to love it. I mean, it's just full of fat and salt and sugar, and it's exactly what everybody in the world.
It's the Michael Bay Transformers movie of food. But it's like just go watch it. Don't even think about it. Just
don't think too much about it. Just eat it. People love fast food. People love fast food, so it's kind of taken over the world. But other than fast food, most local people around the world will eat their local cuisine. That's what they do. That's just typical. Americans, on the other hand, they love to import exotic cuisine. And in particular, my favorite exotic cuisine for America would be Indian food, right? Food from India. I
most popular food in Britain.
Yeah, exactly. I particularly love butter chicken. I think butter chicken is fantastic. I love the naan bread, and I love a lot of their spicier food. And so, if white people couldn't spice their food, or we don't like spicy food, or we don't like seasoned food that's seasoned correctly, why do we prefer exotic food so much? Of course, this is such a weird stereotype. I don't know why it got us into this subject, but I just one of those weird things that I just find so annoying, because if you're going to make jokes about us and stereotype us, at least have a grain of truth to it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
So we've learned one thing. We can go off on a tangent for a really long time, as long as it's the tangent Chris wants to go on.
No, I didn't want to go on this tangent. I didn't want to go on this tangent for so long, but everybody seemed to have a good, something good to say about it. So,
I'm not done. So you're to blame.
You keep saying that, but instead of saying I'm not done, why don't you just start talking?
So what is
all right, everybody? Food? Hold on. Kurt has something to say.
Yes. Interrupt me because I'm not going fast enough. Yeah, that makes sense. So what is like the whitest food you can think of? And it's a trick question because it's actually a condiment. What is the whitest condiment?
Mayonnaise?
Yes. Jason's got it, mayonnaise. And what I've noticed is, I'm not claiming racism or anything, but like I think there's a thing in the black community where they don't like mayonnaise. Is this a stereotype?
Oh, is that right? Is that what it is?
Where they're just like, oh, there's mayonnaise on this or whatever. But mayonnaise is very popular everywhere, I think. You were talking about, because when you were talking about that dish in Sweden where it's like shrimp and mayonnaise, I was just like, that's weird that they would do mayonnaise. So I think they do like sour cream or their version of that, something like that. That wasn't like a mayonnaise thing. Like I think French cuisine. But in America, mayonnaise is on Whoppers. It's like in ranch dressing. Ranch dressing is everywhere in America. And it's very popular in Japan. They put mayonnaise, they make their own mayonnaise for Christ's sake. And I don't think it's necessarily a French influence. I think it's an American influence. We have the Kewpie mayonnaise and all this sort of things. So if white people food is so bad, then why does the entire world love mayonnaise? That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean the mayonnaise thing, because mayonnaise is a very plain tasting thing. If you just ate mayonnaise by itself, which nobody
does.
Even
Hawaii. In Hawaii, we love mayonnaise too.
That's true. The Hawaiians love mayonnaise. But if you ate mayonnaise by itself, which would be insane, the hell would do that? But if you were, then yes, there would be a very poorly seasoned food, because and so I think there's this and some black racists will call white people mayonnaise, or they'll like associate being white with mayonnaise because mayonnaise is like a white colored thing. So I don't know. Maybe there's some kind of association with that. I'm not sure where this white people don't season their food thing came from. I just always have a bit of a problem with it because it's so dumb. All right, let's move on to the next story. What do we got coming up here, Jason?
Narrative collapse. Mass migration not driving economic growth. A report finds.
Yeah, I didn't even read this story. I just read the headline because it's so obviously true.
How unprofessional.
I know. It's the least. I wasn't very professional today. I'm getting over an illness. I'm actually still sick. So the fact that I'm in here is kind of a miracle because I was like in bed the last 2 weeks.
Oh, cry me a river.
But thanks, Kurt. That's very charming. Kurt's in a bad mood today. All right. Narrative collapse, mass migration not driving economic growth. The thing is, who would have guessed that bringing in a bunch of illegal immigrants would actually be bad for the economy? It's such an obvious reality, right? If you get all these people who they're not contributing to the economy, they're just using up public resources, they're using up tax dollars. We're presenting them with hotels to stay in, we're presenting them with free transportation. All this is coming from tax money. Well, we have fewer resources to take care of the people who are already here. Now, if all of these people were somehow magically contributing to the economy, I still don't think anybody would want these people here, because you want people who you know who they are coming into the country. Illegal immigrants, we don't know who they are. They're just doing whatever. And potentially obliterating the economy. Anyway, what are you thinking about, Jason?
I want to know who's the dummy to actually believe that.
Oh, that it would improve the economy?
Yeah.
Well, there's this
who's
theory.
Who's the actual person that believed migration, illegals, and
nobody believes
poor people from around the world would benefit your economy? Like,
the basic theory behind it is that there's a lot of jobs that your average American doesn't want to do because they don't get paid enough to do those jobs. Now, this is kind of how economics works. If people can't get paid enough to do a particular kind of job, the people who need that job done will inevitably have to pay more. So you could potentially get your house cleaning done, even if you're not paying the low wage that is required by an illegal immigrant. You would just have to pay more. Maybe it's 3/4 as much, or not 3/4 as much. Maybe it's 150%. Maybe it's 200% what you were paying. But if you really want a house cleaner, you're going to pay that person, the next person up who will take that job. So this idea that if we don't have illegal immigrants,
it's benefiting the rich.
Yeah, it's benefiting these. Well, not even necessarily rich, but just like upper middle class people who want a little bit more luxury, a little bit more free time, and it's like, at what cost? You know what I mean? Like, you're creating more poverty. You're creating more poor people in America by basically paying off these illegal immigrants to come in. I don't know. It's obviously, we're not bringing in great employees that are boosting our economy in any way. Everybody knows that.
It's just a grab bag. It's like a loot crate of people. We don't know who's coming in. We're not. There's
exactly.
No,
we don't even know what's going on exactly. Yeah. Hoffpower Concrete and Semperfi Crawfish Company throws $5 at us, and he says, "Tonight we are having chicken fricassee. Miss me with that whites don't eat spice garbage." Chicken fricassee. I don't actually know what chicken fricassee is. Kurt, you're the local
fricasseeing idea what that is either. No, I know that I'm the culinary guru of the group, but self appointed. But
I like the word fricassee, though. It sounds good.
Yeah.
I think it's a southern thing, fricassee, right?
Of the classic cartoon show Freakazoid, because fricassee was in the opening credits. This is just a comment for myself and maybe one person. But anyway.
Yeah, I was going to make that point. Okay, so we all agree. Does anybody else have anything to say about this? It's so obviously stupid, the idea that all these illegal immigrants would boost the economy. But you guys got anything better to say about it, or do we want to move on?
Yeah.
I don't think it was even... I don't think that anybody believed it to begin with. I think it was an example of they wanted immigrants to come flooding in. So they'll say, hey, this is one of the reasons why it's good, guys. And they may have even paid off some experts to do some sort of study or something to support that claim. Knowing full well that it wasn't what wasn't going to happen, and it wasn't the goal to begin with. It's just the idea of immigrants coming to this country, or migrants, or what do you call them? They're illegal invaders as far as I'm concerned, but the terminology is always shifting to distract us. But they serve a
disagree
purpose,
with you, Kurt.
and that purpose was never to better the economy, because things are actually better for the evil overlords when the economy is worse, because then people are panicking and busy looking at their checkbooks and not paying attention to the nuances of their freedom getting eroded. Jason.
Yeah, when you don't have mass migration and controlled borders, no illegals, of course your economy is going to grow. Of course that's better for the country. But I disagree with you on one thing. I truly do believe the liberals, lefties, believe that, because you see on YouTube for many years interviews and these people actually believing this and saying it. So they did believe it.
I think the leadership doesn't believe it.
Of course, yeah, of course.
Of the Democrat Party. See, I brought the Sims thing back again, Chris. The Democrat voters.
You mean the Sith Lords, as opposed to? Are you saying that somehow is related to simp because it kind of vaguely rhymes?
No, but as long as you're annoyed, I'm happy. What I was saying was, it's the leadership doesn't believe it,
right?
And by the leadership, I mean the people that are telling the puppets what to say don't believe it. The overlords don't believe it. Maybe the people that watch CNN and think they're watching the news and getting informed believe it,
right?
But they don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But
all right, what do we got up next, Jason?
Reducing
sorry,
immigration.
I thought you were done.
Yeah, I give that impression sometimes.
I'm going to cut him off anyway. Reducing immigration now more important to Europeans than climate change.
Democrats,
can you believe that?
This is what oppression looks like. Chris and Jason, the way they treat me. This is true oppression. Not what you guys.
Kurt does this weird thing where he'll say what he's thinking, and then he'll give a good like 3-second pause, and then he'll just keep going.
Chris
so
as a seasoned actor does not understand pausing for dramatic effect because I can't remember my lines. Chris is someone who is not happy unless he's talking constantly. So for me to even stop for a second is his indication.
Ouch,
that I'm
Kurt! Oh, unnecessarily harsh. All right.
Well, we're conservatives, so we're authoritarian. So
authoritarian, yeah,
authoritarian, yeah. Anyway, let me say reducing immigration now more important to Europeans than climate change.
I love that.
Can you believe that?
I just love that. Now, did you read this full story?
I went through it.
Yeah. All right, give us the breakdown because I didn't read this one.
So, concern about immigration and terrorism is rising in Europe, while fighting climate change as a priority is falling by the wayside among voters. Yeah. Research led by the former Secretary General of NATO has found. So, yeah, they did a survey, and I guess climate change ain't that big of a deal when the effects of other things are hitting you.
Yeah. I think if every single day in the news you hear about some vicious, brutal attack by an immigrant against your people, and you're constantly being told to be afraid of climate change, but you've never actually felt any real world impact from it. Yeah, eventually, presumably, if you're not a complete idiot, you're going to start thinking, actually, this immigration thing might be a bigger problem than this existential threat they keep telling us about that doesn't seem to be that big of a deal at all. And so now you get this situation where people are finally waking up. This is a great sign, I mean, the only thing that I think is really sad is that I think it's too late in a lot of places, which I really don't want to say because I am an optimist. I don't want to be the black-pilled a-hole that I constantly accuse Jason of being.
You're stealing what I was going to say. I was going to say that.
Yeah, but okay, so I think that a lot of places in Europe can still be salvaged. I've been around Europe a bit, and I can say that a lot of places can be salvaged, and I can give you my breakdown real quick of how to do that. But I think that the one place that may be lost for good is the UK. The UK, there doesn't seem to be any sign of reverse. No, France can be saved as well. Here's how you save any of these places, and in America too. It's the same thing here. You get a law in place that says that if you commit a crime of any kind as an illegal immigrant, you and every one of your relatives who is here in this country, you are all deported. All deported. Any kind of crime. Now, maybe something like jaywalking, no, not so much. But any kind of significant crime, if you commit any kind of like a robbery, anything like that, you have to leave. Your wife has to leave. Your parents have to leave. Your kids have to leave. Your cousins have to leave. Everybody that you know has to leave. And you get deported back to your home country. You get your citizenship revoked, or whatever it is, your green card status, whatever it is all revoked. Now, why would I be so harsh about it to remove the entire family? Because nobody acts entirely in a vacuum, right? If these parents aren't teaching their kids, if the community isn't teaching the people within their community to be respectful of the nation that they're moving to, none of you get to come here. If you had a culture that was immigrating to another region of the world, and that culture said, "Look, we have to be incredibly respectful of the people that already live in the place that we're going to." These people already have their own culture. They have this great civilization. Let's be respectful of them. Then you wouldn't have a problem with crime. You know what I mean? Like, how often do you hear about Japanese immigrants in America committing, like, shoplifting, or or committing acts of vandalism? Like, that just doesn't happen. Why? Because it's a respectful culture, and if you come to America, you show respect to the Americans because you came to America, right? The same thing is true of Americans abroad. I would never go to another country and, like, in Indonesia, for instance, there are like temples everywhere, like Hindu temples, like literally everywhere here on this island. Just like you can't walk down a street without there being a temple somewhere. It would never occur to me to deface one of these temples because I'm Christian and they're Hindu. I would never go, "Oh, you know what? This is not my religion. I'm going to knock down these statues." That to me is so disgusting an idea, right? But you do get this happening in Christian countries with Muslims. Muslims will come in, and some of these people, they have no respect for the Christian faith, and they will deface the churches. They will destroy the statues. At the tops of mountains in Europe, they always have a cross. So if you could hike up to the top of the mountain and you get your picture taken with the cross, whatever, Muslims will go up there and knock down the crosses. It's just the most disrespectful kind of thing. Like, if that happens, you get deported, your whole family gets deported. If they did this, if they took this action across Europe, we would go back to Europe as we remember it in, like, say, the 1980s, because you would just be deporting so many people. And then the people that that are left behind there in Europe, the immigrants who are left behind that are still there, will be the respectful, nice people that you want there. So to me, that's the solution.
Yeah. And the whole idea.
Let's start with stopping immigration 100% first. At least stop it for 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair. Yeah.
I mean, 100% stop, like no more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm saying this because my wife is an immigrant, so it's not like I have it in my family.
You got your imported goods. You're fine. You stockpiled it already.
Yeah, but it's like
imported
goods. We need to stop it. People that are already here need to assimilate, and we just need to stop it. The other thing is, this is building like a boiling point. I think the natives in these countries, especially in Europe, it's going to get to a point where it's just going to boil up and the pot's just going to break open. And these white people, when they get to
Jason is saying
it's
the
not
natives
good.
are restless.
Yeah, when we get upset, things get spicy. Oh, what's that? Yeah, that's right. We seasoned everything correctly. Bermuda Rectangle jumps in with $5 and he writes,
going to boil them until they're tender.
He writes, "Half power is right. Fricassee will make you slap your mama." That's good stuff. Yeah, when something's really good, it often makes me slap my mama. G.I. Jose jumps in with $5 and he writes, "It's called assimilation into American culture and society. That's what the immigration process is." Well, that's exactly right.
Yes.
There's nothing. So, like, I would say that conservatives in general don't have a particularly strong issue with immigration just as it is, and Coulter might, but the rest of us, I mean, we're a pretty eclectic group, even just right here. You know, almost all of my exes are you know, Russian immigrants. So yeah, I don't think conservatives necessarily have a problem with immigrants, just so long as they're decent people and they're respectful and all that kind of thing. It's just like, here's how conservatives tend to think. If you're a good person, I'm going to like you. If you're not a good person, I'm probably not going to like you. That's about it. That's kind of how we think of things. The whole concept of an illegal immigrant is somebody sneaking into the country, and we don't know one way or another whether you're a good person or not. There's no vetting. There's no accountability. There's nothing. It's just like a mystery person running in. And although, you know, 90% of those mystery people could be great people, we don't know that, first of all. But like, let's say that they are. 10% of them are awful people, and we can't figure out which of those people are awful. We can't stop them coming in. Why? Because we've got this completely lack of any kind of vetting going on. So yeah, we definitely need to get a hold of that. Obviously, I mean, it's almost a dumb conversation to have because it's so obvious.
Absolutely.
But we do need to start getting rid of not just stop the immigration problem, which is obviously true, but I think we need to go further, and we need, like Donald Trump says, we do need mass deportation, and not just of illegal immigrants, of any immigrant who commits any crime. They and their family, they need to go. It's going to be chain migration in the opposite direction.
Yeah, and
all the,
I agree.
And
also,
registered Democrats,
like,
too. Get them out of
even
here.
not me.
Yeah.
I think even where your loyalties are, like,
Yeah.
I know protesting is constitutional, but if you're not born or from here, you just came here and you're protesting for another country, I don't know. I think that's terms to take your papers away.
Well, Vivek Ramaswamy and Ann Coulter just had a conversation about this, where Ann Coulter, we should actually have had this as a story today. I'm surprised we didn't get it, but I was sleeping.
Well, here it is now.
Yeah. Ann Coulter basically said that she loves Vivek Ramaswamy. She agrees with him on everything, basically, but she'd never vote for him because he's not white. And Vivek Ramaswamy was like, "Okay,
a national treasure."
She's crazy, man. She's a little crazy, but he was very respectful. I mean, everybody's just like, Ann Coulter's like lost her mind. She's basically like, if you don't have any kind of like British heritage, you're not allowed to be president, which is such a dumb idea. But
I can kind of see your point, honestly. I don't think it's that crazy.
It's idiotic. You want the best person for the job. Come on, like
I can't stand that
for the job of president, because this is a country based on a culture. So,
well, I think if you have American
race and culture are different
beliefs, you're Christian, you were born here. I think you should have every right to be president.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the point I'm trying to make is,
and if you own land, you're not a woman.
Basically, what I'm saying is racism can be justified. That's all. That's the only point I'm trying to make.
Well, look. The point that they came to, one point that they agreed on, was that what does citizenship mean? Right? Citizenship is all about loyalty. Right? It's the loyalty you have to a particular country, and I think that's just funny that Jason brought that up sort of independently. Absolutely true. I mean, it's the kind of thing that seems obvious, but that you kind of lose in the sort of like legal sense of what it means to be a citizen. But yeah, being a citizen of a country is all about being loyal to that country, being a patriot to that country. And the left is all about anti-patriotism. They don't want loyalty to America. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've kind of decided that they want to be loyal to every other region of the world other than the region that they need to be loyal to, the region of the world that they're a citizen of. But anyway,
you know what sucks? It's like, for the first time in my life, I actually have to think, like, would I sacrifice myself in like a war or something for this country? Is it worth the sacrifice of my life or my son's life right now?
Right.
Right. And for the first time in my life, I'm questioning this.
Yeah.
You know,
it's not because we don't love America. It's because, who are we fighting for? Are we fighting for America, or are we fighting for this leftist nonsense?
It's hard to justify, to consider who is deciding who to go to war with. Do you want to fight and die for Joe Biden? Now, if it was Trump, that would be a different question. But like, Joe Biden is a senile puppet, so no, I don't want to go. I don't want to go do whatever sort of like kill other people and potentially die myself for whatever whoever is this, who's pulling the strings on Biden deems is a valid cause. Like, no, thank you. So
all right. Well, I'm suffering here. We got about 20 minutes left, so let's get through these.
Suffering from what?
I'm still sick, Mr. I don't care that you're sick. Boo hoo,
I
cry
thought
me a
you were
river.
suffering from me talking and not you. My mistake.
What is this? Okay. What is this brutal woke up on the wrong side of the bed nonsense? All right, what do we got next?
Jackass.
Jason?
No, not you, right. Kurt. Jackass star.
Guilty as charged.
Jackass star Steve O is leaving Hollywood for Tennessee.
Got a point.
So comedian and Jackass star Steve O has apparently had enough and is selling his home in Los Angeles for a new place in Tennessee. He's selling his home in Hollywood Hills for $1.799 million.
That's insane.
Imagine what he's going to be able to get in Tennessee with that.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, this is kind of this is not that exciting of a story because it's just like a sort of continuation of the same thing that's been going on for ages. Like every big celebrity is leaving. But here's the weird thing. I actually know Steve-O. Weirdly, only very vaguely. You probably wouldn't remember me, but he went
Boy
to
Scouts together.
No, he went to University of Miami.
Right.
He went to University of Miami. And we were in a class together. We made it was a weird class. We were made paper airplanes and stuff. And at the time, he wasn't Steve-O. He wasn't Steve-O from the show Jackass. He was just another student. But he had gone to circus school or something like that. Barnum and Bailey's circus university or something. And so he came to class once and he actually balanced a desk on his chin. And he's walking around balancing this desk on his chin. He kind of liked attention. He was kind of like
That's
that.
Crazy.
It was weird. Yeah, he was a weird dude. And one day he plays this video of him and his buddies setting themselves on fire and jumping off hotel roofs into swimming pools and going oh, we're trying to get this on TV. We want to get on Oprah or something. And I remember watching that going, this isn't a show. How I don't understand how this is going to work. I mean, I liked him personally. We got along okay. Even though he was a kind of a crazy dude, but he was actually a relatively humble guy, despite the fact that he was nuts, and but he was not, and he actually went by Steve-O. Everybody called him Steve-O. That wasn't a Jackass thing. That was what he was called before. But yeah, and so then the show Jackass becomes a big hit, but I never watch it. So several years go by, Jackass the biggest show in the world. I never see it. So I don't know that this guy that I know, Steve-O, is this big star. And then the show on MTV, I don't know if you guys remember this show. It was called it was some dating show where they would just have, it was called Blind Date. Do you guys remember Blind Date?
Yes. I think
where they would just have two people just go on a date and they didn't know each other. This was Celebrity Blind Date.
Is that where the little thought bubbles popped up?
I think so. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. But anyway, they had Celebrity Blind Date. And so Celebrity Blind Date's on, and I recognize Steve-O from Miami, from the University of Miami. And I was like, oh man, I remember Steve-O. I was like, holy smokes, that guy got on Blind Date. That's pretty good, right? And so I'm looking at the chick and I'm sitting there going, so who is this chick? What celebrity is this? I don't recognize the girl from anything, right? Because I just think it's a buddy of mine from school and this celebrity chick. And then as the narration is going on in the background, I realize it the penny drops, as they say, and I realize that Steve-O he made it. He did exactly what he said he was going to do, and he did Jackass. And I was like, the camera just zoomed in on my face, and I was just like, what? And everything hit me at once, and I'm like, Steve-O is famous. I'm like, what is this? It was pretty crazy, but yeah, I was happy for the guy, but completely blown away. I was proven wrong. The guy did turn what he said he was going to turn into a success. It is success. So all respect to Steve-O, even though he's nuts. Yeah, he deserves all the success in the world.
Yeah. What's crazy is that his house is worth $1.8 million from just doing that Jackass show. It's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it was a big show. That was a big show.
These people made some real money from the most
$1.8 million
stupidest content ever. I mean,
I should
I'm not knocking.
have
Good for
hung
them.
out with Steve-O some more. I didn't have
Yeah.
So wait,
I didn't
Jason,
have
what
any
is the
faith
actual
in that.
number, the value of his house? It's 1.8 million, something around those terms?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but that's not in Los Angeles or Hawaii or a lot of these like liberal.
Oh, I thought you said it was
cities.
180 million or something like that.
1.8 million. Yeah.
The house I'm in right now is worth that. So
Hold on,
let's not go crazy.
1.8 million.
1,800,000. Sorry.
There you go.
1,800,000.
1
Yeah,
million.
that's-
1.800.
He was living very-
1,800,000.
He was living very conservatively.
Look. My point is
1.8
that's
is a very confusing way of saying that.
but still, my point is still valid. Like,
No, 1.8 makes sense.
from that show, these guys made so much money. Remember, he's had a hard life. Like, he's done drugs and all that stuff. So who knows how much money he's lost?
Yeah,
I'm sure the other people in the show, they're like filthy rich. I just find it's interesting. I find it amazing and good for them, but it's wild.
I'm happy for him. I'm happy for what's his face too. Actually, I can't really be happy for that one guy. Who's the one guy that did the movies with The Rock and stuff? Did like the voice for the Ninja Turtles.
You're talking about
Do we really want to talk
Johnny
about
Knoxville?
Knoxville. I can't be a fan of John Knoxville because he got to co-star with Jackie Chan in the movie. I've never seen the movie. I don't plan on seeing the movie, but
so just pure resentment and jealousy.
Pure resentment, envy, and yeah.
But it's amazing what they've accomplished with that show.
I love Jackie Chan, so I hate Johnny Knoxville.
It is a bunch of guys slapping themselves, kicking themselves in the nuts, setting themselves on fire.
Yeah.
And they created one of the most successful shows of all time.
They were actually
really
like,
incredible.
This is like pre-social media where it's kind of like now we got TikTok videos and stuff. People do like wild stunts and things like those losers. They were like opening like ice cream and licking it and things like that. Like Tom Green's show is sort of like our era,
right?
The
raunchy, crazy.
When you had like these guys doing like outlandish things. So like that era of like Tom Green and Jackass and stuff like that. That sort of informed and led to the TikTok
some
era
of the
that
stuff
we're in
we
now,
get on social
where
media.
it's just like, oh, I'm gonna do stuff, like
that.
That's the Bermuda Rectangle the Bermuda Rectangle might have a point here. It may have all started with them just eating some fricassee, because as he said, it'll make you slap your mama because that is good stuff. So maybe that's how it all started.
I was gonna say that. I used to watch that stuff. I used to laugh. It was funny, but I would always say like, this is really bad for the U.S. It's really making society into like a bunch of jokers, and it's creating a clown world. And like you said,
yes, absolutely,
it became TikTok and all that. Like, so it's only gotten worse.
Chris, we have to retroactively title this episode "Simping for Fricassee."
Simping for fricassee, love it.
So
all right, let's move on.
Moving on. Biden on falling real income. We've already turned economy around.
Yeah, this is crazy. This is crazy.
Yeah. So I thought we were going to do this one. I thought we were going to do the Hillary Clinton one.
Issue for voters. It's also true right now, Mr. President, that voters by a wide margin trust Trump more on the economy. They say that in polls. And part of the reason for that may be the numbers. And you're aware of many of these, of course. The cost of buying a home in the United States is double what it was when you look at your monthly costs from before the pandemic. Real income, when you account for inflation, is actually down since you took office. Economic growth last week, far short of expectations. Consumer confidence, maybe no surprise, is near 2-year low.
Look at his face.
Less than 6 months to go to Election Day. Are you worried that you're running out of time to turn that around?
We've already turned it around. Look at the Michigan survey. For 65% of American people think they're in good shape economically. They think the nation's not in good shape, but they're personally in good shape. The polling data has been wrong all along. How many you guys do a poll with CNN? How many folks you have to call to get one response? The idea that we're in a situation where things are so bad, the folks that, I mean, we've created more jobs. We're in a situation where people have access to good paying jobs. And the last I saw, the combination of the inflation, the cost of inflation, all those things, that's really worrisome to people with good reason. That's why I'm working very hard to bring the cost of rentals down, to increase the number of homes that are available. But let me say it this way. When I started this administration, people were saying there's going to be a collapse in the economy. We have the strongest economy in the world. Let me say it again, in the world.
Although GDP last week was far short of expectations.
Oh, it wasn't. Look, GDP is still growing. Look at the response of the markets. Overwhelmingly positive. Overwhelmingly positive. And one of the reasons why people feel good about it not being as strong as it was before is they believe that the Fed's going to respond.
They hope they're going to get a rate cut.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, no president's had the run we've had in terms of creating jobs and bringing down inflation. It was 9% when I came to office. Wow. 9%. But look.
That's not true. It was not 9%. That's a lie.
1.4.
It was 1.4. Look, Joe Biden is in a pretty terrible situation.
Get him off the screen.
Everybody take him off the screen. I know. Kurt could not stop making noises throughout that. I don't know really why. I suspect because Joe Biden is so difficult to watch. He had to make noises. I apologize for that. But let's see here. Well, let me really quick read. The
Biden administration is elderly abuse.
Yeah, it's elder abuse. It's elder abuse. Look, Joe Biden doesn't have really anything good to say. He's got to make stuff up. He's got to lie. He's got to pretend the economy's doing great. He's got to, save face in some way or another. But I mean, he's in a pretty bad spot in the sense that, like, how do you pretend that the economy is doing well when everybody's like, I can't afford eggs, I can't afford gas to get to work. I mean, like, what are you going to do? He can't possibly say, oh, look, don't worry, guys, I'm going to fix it. Because like she said, he doesn't have enough time. He's got to pretend that what he's already done is good. It's not, nobody's buying it though.
I've already fixed it. Like, no, you haven't.
Did you? Yeah. But
so
the fact that CNN is even holding him to account, I think is actually amazing. That's the big story here, is that Aaron Burnett is actually pushing back even at all on him, which I think is fantastic. But I always think that there's some split in the deep state. Some people who think they want to replace Biden, and some people who want to keep him there as the
which
idiot
is good for us.
He is. Yeah, I love that split. I love that divide.
But anyway, what do you disagree?
I think the questions are pre-planned. He knew what they were going to ask, and this was like kind of like save face. I'm going to act like I'm asking you tough questions, and you just come back with answers that will make your administration sound better.
She pushed back. It was not bad. It was
But
it was better than they've ever done before.
His lies came back. He knew what he had to say. People look at Biden as this old, feeble man, senile. But you know what? He's doing his job. He's the puppet that needs to. He's doing his puppet work. And I give him the benefit of the doubt. I think this was like to save face. Even though it looked bad, it was to save a face because at the end of the day,
I don't think it saved anything. I don't think it saved anything. G.I. Jose comes in with this.
You can't save that administration. You can't save that administration. It doesn't matter.
They may have been. You may be right. That may be what they were trying for, but it was horrible. G.I. Jose jumps in with $5. He says, "Check out the interview with the White House chief economic advisor." I haven't seen that, but I will check that out. Thank you very much. Anyway, what do you got to say about this, Kurt?
I wonder as well as to the intent of like what were they planning? What was the idea behind this interview? Because you would think that CNN, any sort of interview with Biden would be as scripted as all get out, because we know that they had the one black woman who was like working for CNN. She was railroaded. She was basically she was pushed out because she wasn't playing ball, and she said that the interview she did with Biden was scripted to the nines, and she felt bad for Biden because it was such a pathetic charade. So Erin Burnett is in the same position, only with an even more declined version of Biden. So do we give her the benefit of the doubt and saying like, oh, she's doing real journalism? No, this is all planned, but to what end? So she's asking these questions like, oh, you know what? She's being tough on him. So I assume this is theater, because
because I don't want to cut you off. I need to cut you off, because if it was Trump, the minute he said something like, oh, it was 9% when I came to, she would have cut him off and been like, no, it wasn't.
We've seen this version.
It was that
when Trump was in office. We've seen this.
Yeah,
firsthand.
they would cut off Trump every second in the interview. They didn't do that here.
Yes,
that's true.
So this is
they let him
and
talk.
that chick that was doing that interview with him, she's got the Erin Burnett job now. She's got her own little like sort of like Katie Couric vibe going on, where like, I'm a journalist. But so her is like, I'm being tough on Biden. That's the pretense of this whole thing. And then when Biden says like, oh yeah, well actually blah blah blah, and then she chimes in like, oh yeah, you're right. Just like, oh, okay. Well, that was the big signal for me. It's just like, so now she goes from being like, oh, you know, Biden, you're actually not doing as good as you claim to be doing. It's just like, well, what about this? She's just like, ah, yes. Like she had some sort of epiphany in the moment. BS. She knows she's looking the effing corpse, and she's just like doing like puppet theater. She's in on it. Totally.
All right, but it's a fair analysis.
But why do it? Because he still looks like a retard. Why
he still
do
looks
this?
terrible.
It's just Erin Burnett, or whatever the hell her name is. She's cashing that paycheck. She wants to keep her job. Liberal media is dying because nobody buys into it anymore. So she probably got handed like a stack of hundreds or something to basically like destroy all of her credibility as a journalist, if she had any to begin with.
Well, it looks like we've run out of time. I think I think that the analysis has been excellent today, gentlemen. Despite Kurt's crankiness, and
you bring out the worst in me, Coles.
Well,
your smug Anglo-Saxon face.
Smug. Why smug? Why so irritable today, Kurt? Chill, bro. It's all good.
Right through the
I tell him he's got excellent analysis. He calls me smug. I don't get it. I don't get it, guys. I'm the victim here. I just want everybody to know. All right. Well, I had fun in spite of the vicious attacks for no reason.
I may have had a little too much fun. Sorry.
I may have had a little too much. No. It was fantastic. Another fantastic episode. Episode number 13. We got episode number 14 coming up shortly on Monday. I'm going to go be sick for a while and try to recover. Finally, I think I'll be 100% by the next episode. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me once again on the show. It was a blast. Thank you, everybody, for the super chats. And we will see you next time. Until then, remember to buy all of our merch, because we have some awesome Toxic Masculinity merch in the merch store. I got to buy Jason a mug. He's like, send me a mug, man. I want to show it on the show. So, yeah, I'll send you guys mugs and T-shirts and everything. And remember, it's not that liberal friends are ignorant. It's just they know so much that is not so. All right, we'll see you next time.